The restaurant was dimly lit, a cozy Italian place with soft jazz humming in the background. I was there for a work dinner. My tie loosened after a long day when I saw her. Laura, my ex-wife, sitting across the room. 7 years had passed since our divorce. A messy unraveling of a decade-long marriage that left us both bruised. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth, as her familiar laugh reached me. She hadn't changed much. Same auburn hair, same animated gestures. But the sight of her stirred something I hadn't felt in years. A mix of nostalgia and unease. I hadn't planned to approach her. Our last words, shouted in a lawyer's office, weren't exactly a bridge to friendly reunions. But when our eyes met across the crowded dining room, she gave a small, surprised smile. I excused myself from my colleagues, my heart thudding, and walked over. "It's been a while," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Laura's smile widened, though her eyes held a cautious glint. "Long time no see, David," she replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. Her date or friend had stepped away, leaving us a moment. We started with small talk, the kind you'd expect from strangers sharing a bus stop. She was a marketing director now, living in the city, no kids, no husband. I told her about my tech job, my apartment downtown, my quiet life. The divorce came up indirectly, her mention of selling our old house. My nod at the freedom of being single. It was polite, almost scripted, but beneath it, I felt the weight of everything unsaid, the fights, the late-night apologies, the love that had frayed until it snapped. Laura sipped her wine, her fingers tracing the glass's stem, a habit I remembered too well. "You look good," she said, and I laughed, deflecting with a joke about gray hairs. But her words lingered, stirring memories of mornings in our old kitchen. Her teasing me over burnt toast. I wanted to ask if she ever thought about those days, but instead I asked about her work. She lit up, describing a campaign she'd led, her passion as infectious as ever. For a moment, it felt like no time had passed, like we were still us. Her date returned, a tall guy with a polite smile who introduced himself as Chris, a coworker. I stood ready to leave them to their evening, but Laura touched my arm. "Stay for a drink," she said, her voice soft but insistent. I hesitated, then sat back down, ignoring the curious glance from Chris. We talked more, the three of us now, but it was Laura and I who carried the conversation, slipping into old rhythms. Chris seemed to sense it, his smile tightening, but he stayed gracious. The restaurant grew quieter as tables cleared, and Chris excused himself to take a call. Laura and I were alone again, the air heavier now. "Do you ever wonder what went wrong?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. I swallowed, caught off guard. "Every day for the first year," I admitted. "Less now," she nodded, her gaze distant. "I blamed you for a long time," she said quietly. Then I realized we both let it fall apart. It wasn't an apology, but it felt like one, and I didn't know how to respond. We talked about the divorce, then carefully, like stepping around broken glass. She mentioned her anger, how my long hours at work felt like abandonment. I confessed my resentment, how her need for control pushed me away. It wasn't healing exactly, but it was honest. Something we hadn't managed back then. I saw her differently now. Not the villain I'd painted, but a person who'd been hurting too. The years had softened the edges of our pain, leaving room for this strange, fragile moment. Chris returned, and the spell broke. I stood, this time for good, and Laura stood too. "It was good to see you, David," she said, her voice warm but final. I nodded, feeling the same. "Take care, Laura." We didn't exchange numbers, didn't promise to keep in touch. As I walked back to my table, my colleagues' chatter fading into the background. I felt lighter, like I'd set down a weight I'd carried too long. The past wasn't erased, but it wasn't a shadow anymore. Back at my apartment, I poured a glass of whiskey and sat by the window, the city lights sprawling below. I thought about Laura, about the life we'd built and lost. 7 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this. Us laughing, talking, not hating each other. I wondered if she was thinking of me now or if she'd already moved on to her evening with Chris. Either way, it didn't sting like it might have once. The night felt quieter, not with regret, but with clarity. Laura and I weren't meant to stay together, but we weren't meant to be enemies either. Our chance meeting had closed a chapter, not with a dramatic flourish, but with a simple acknowledgement. We'd both survived, and maybe in some small way we'd both grown. I finished my drink, the jazz from the restaurant still echoing in my head, and went to bed feeling, for the first time in years, at peace with her memory.